He records his unit as it conducts raids trying to kill or capture insurgents.
People want to see the sterile, watered-down version of what's going on. They don't want to see, accept the reality that war is nasty.
This house-to-house combat is not what America envisioned when the Iraq War began 2 years earlier. March 20th, 2003. Major Mark Hain is on a top-secret mission over Baghdad. As the sun begins to light the sky, he fears that anti-aircraft batteries will spot his F-117 stealth fighter.
I said, well, I could see them. Does this mean they could see me? Think about it. Black aircraft flying in a blue sky. There's a juicy target.
But he remains undetected, reaching his target, and drops 2 satellite-guided bunker-busting bombs. The war has begun. When he lands here at his base, he's finally told his target, though he suspected it all along. Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein.
Couldn't hear anything over the noise of the engines and everything out there, but I tell that everybody was pretty pumped.
Their happiness is short-lived. A few hours later, Saddam appears on Iraqi TV, very much alive, and ranting about the U.S. attack. The next day, President George W. Bush orders a coalition of ground forces from the U.S., the United Kingdom, and Australia to invade. The troops plow through defensive berms and tank traps and begin to cross the border from Kuwait into Iraq. Their mission is a quick strike on Baghdad to take down Saddam's regime, which the U.S. accuses of developing weapons of mass destruction. 21-year-old Marine Corporal Marco Martinez crosses this desolate Iraqi desert in the back of a cramped assault vehicle. The former gang member from New Mexico is itching for a fight.
We just wanted to go in there and get it on with all these people. They wanted to fight us. I mean, I would have got really disappointed if we didn't go. I'd have been kind of mad.
Finally made it, man. Where are we? Just crossed the border to Iraq about 10 miles ago.
This wave of American tanks, trucks, and troops speeds towards Baghdad. Marine Staff Sergeant Nick Popovich, a veteran of the Gulf War, leads his men in a 70-ton Abrams tank.
Some guys get nervous, and they're a little worried about it because it is an unknown, and what I would tell them is combat's one of those unique things. You don't have to have done it before to be good at it.
Going to war is like the Super Bowl, like you made it, like you're actually performing it. It's like sitting on the bench for a couple years and then all of a sudden getting to play in the game.
Martinez is confident, but worries that Saddam's army might use their WMDs if forced into a corner.
It could be biological warfare, chemical warfare, blood agents, nerve agents, who knows what's in there. You don't want to come in contact with it, so you just get out. I wouldn't want to be in that area.
To reach the capital city, these forces must cross over 300 miles through southern Iraq, home to the majority of Iraq's Shiite Muslim population. Saddam, a Sunni Muslim, has brutally oppressed the Shiites for decades. And many Iraqis here are happy to see American forces.
The first Iraqi I seen was a farmer. He was looking at my tank as I was going by, and I was looking at him, and I waved at him, and he waved back, and I thought, okay, well, that's a good sign, you know.
That night, U.S. forces unleashed Phase 2 of the assault. It's called Shock and Awe. A barrage of airstrikes on government and military targets all over the country. It's designed to convince Saddam's 400,000 troops to surrender. Baghdad residents awake to find parts of their city in ruins. Corporal Martinez sees signs that shock and awe is working.
All the way up to Baghdad, it was just littered with green uniforms. All over the ground, deserters. And I remember I turned to this guy named Garcia. He was on my fire team. I said, you know what, this is going to turn into a guerrilla war. Watch.
After the airstrikes, U.S. tanks annihilate the enemy. Incinerated Iraqi tanks litter the roads, while U.S. ground forces decimate remaining pockets of fighters. These Marines encounter an Iraqi army unit eager to surrender.
So those are your men. Do your men have weapons? Do your men have weapons over there?
They say we leave it over there. Go on.
Okay.
We had an entire battalion surrender to my squad. They obviously knew what they were doing. They had been trained, but they just didn't have the heart to fight. If they actually wanted to fight, we would have taken heavy casualties. I remember thinking to myself, well, we all could have died here.
Martinez pushes on. Part of an Allied operation on its way to becoming one of the fastest armored assaults in history.
It kind of became a blur because, I mean, I'm being realistic. We didn't sleep for the first 3 days straight. We didn't sleep.
But the sheer speed of the run up country presents daunting challenges. Vital supply units in the rear can't keep up with the combat units leading the way.
Sometimes we ran out of food, ran out of water. Just supply couldn't keep up with us because we were going that fast to Baghdad.
One of those supply convoys falling behind is the Army's 507th Maintenance Company.
Somehow our vehicles, our company vehicles, just kept breaking down and people getting stuck in sand. It was just kind of a one thing after another nightmare.
19-year-old Private Jessica Lynch from rural West Virginia sits nervously in the back of a Humvee with 2 others in her unit.
Most of us were, 19, 20 years old. This was our first war. Straight out of high school, we weren't really sure what to expect.
The 33 soldiers in the non-combat unit are trained and equipped with only the most basic weaponry. Early on the morning of March 23rd, Lynch and her comrades lose sight of the Patriot anti-missile convoy they're supposed to be following.
When you look around you and you see 1,000 other trucks beside you, and then the next time you look around and there's nothing. I mean, there's sand as far as you can see. We weren't even on a road.
They've been on the move for 2 straight days. Exhausted and disoriented, the company makes a fatal mistake. Instead of going around the city of Nasiriyah as planned, they head straight into its unsecured center. First it's quiet. Then suddenly Lynch hears a shot.
We knew that we were in trouble. And then as we were going along, it was just constant fire from both ends.
They attempt to retreat. but they can't maneuver their 18-vehicle convoy quickly enough. Lynch is trapped in a hail of gunfire. She desperately tries to get her weapon working.
There was so much sand jammed up inside of it. It wasn't working, plus you were shaking so bad where it was just nerves. And it was just a kind of a, well, this is it. Let's pray and hope we make it through it.
Just then, a rocket-propelled grenade hits Lynch's Humvee. They slam into another Army truck.
And then the next thing I knew, I woke up inside of an Iraqi hospital. I knew that I was in the hands of our enemies. Are they going to kill me? Are they going to torture me? What is going to happen to me?
The attack kills 11 soldiers in Lynch's convoy, including her best friend and roommate, Lori Paestua. Iraqis took 5 others prisoner. Soon after, survivors from Lynch's unit alert Marine commanders of the ambush. The Marines had been planning a deliberate assault on Nasiriyah. Now they rush in to rescue soldiers of the 507th and secure the city. One of them is 21-year-old Private Alex Nickel from Humboldt County, California. Nickel and his unit have been in country for days and still haven't fired their weapons. But as their assault vehicle tracks into the city, they sense that's about to change.
I remember a good buddy. He just looked down and like you could see it in his eyes. He just said, "You just shot somebody," and that was kind of the first sense, like we're taking rounds.
His vehicle stops and Nickel gears up.
You know, I could think of Saving Private Ryan when they get lit up in the U-boats. I mean, they just run out and start shooting whatever moves at that point. There's no rules of engagement, so I mean, dogs, chickens, everything got shot then.
Nickel and his fellow Marines confront Iraqis both in and out of uniform. It's the first major battle of the war, and the first large U.S. death toll. 18 Marines die. That same day, 30-year-old Army pilot David Williams flies his Apache attack helicopter toward Karbala, a key access point to Baghdad. It's protected by an entire tank division of the Iraqi Republican Guard, Saddam's best trained and best equipped troops.
I was a little intense, a little nervous because we had never gone up a force this large, and knowing that over Karbala and Baghdad, the Iraqis still had quite a bit of the air defense units.
They're 25 miles from their target zone when Williams and his gunner, Ron Young, fly over the town of Hilla. They're startled by what they see below.
There's a lot of people walking on the streets with rifles, and here it is, we're going beyond midnight, and we thought to ourselves, that's kind of odd that all these people would be out, and all hell broke loose at that point. The entire town just lit up with anti-aircraft fire.
Williams attempts evasive action. But his Apache is riddled with bullets.
Ron was screaming, turn left, turn right, and at that point I knew that we were going down.
He fights the controls and manages to crash land in a rice paddy.